Okay, I've already started a few stitches in, and basically the way you do it, you have one needle in one hand, one needle in the other hand. This needle goes in, and on the back side, this needle goes on top, and then you pull it through and you have a little X. Then you turn that little X, and the second needle goes over the thread you just put through, and you give it a little tug to make sure you didn't pierce the thread, and pull it on through and give it a little snug. And you just continue that all the way around. Oh, I just had a twinge in my back. But it's alright. Went to the gym yesterday. I think I might have overdone it just a mite. But yeah, once you're in the gym and you get to lifting and you get enthusiastic, you gotta live with the consequences. That's alright. Okay, I'm going to keep stitching this. Whoops. Yeah, sometimes you drop a needle. But the idea actually is to not drop a needle. Put that in. Always have your needle either in the leather or in your hands. That's the whole idea behind this. Then you take that, you got both needles here. Whoop. See there, I pierced it. There we go. You give that a tug, and needle in hand, needle in leather. Pull that through, then you have your needles back, one in each hand again. Take the thread, wrap it around, give it a snug. And then continue on from there. Sometimes you can give it a little bit of a wiggle, and that'll help to get stuff pulled through. Sometimes, depending on the application or whether or not I want the stitch to be a little bit more decorative, I'll cast it over. Like the belt here, every stitch on it is casted over. That helps to, a little blob of wax there, that helps to make the angle of the stitch more noticeable and makes it a little bit more decorative and keeps it plenty strong. That's the most important part, that the stitching is strong. This isn't going to be particularly decorative because of where it is and what it is. This one, I cast that one over to get the angle on that, because this one's going to be decorative, and when I stitch this edge, I'm going to cast all those stitches over so they have that angle to them. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this for a little bit, and then we'll get back. Now you're to the point where you're ready to finish your stitching. So I've got it stitched all the way around. And a word or two about stitching where you start and stop it. Now, you have to think, where is the most stress going to be? This is going to be the part that's going to have the most stress on it, because the belt's going to get shoved through there. And just from wearing it and carrying it, that's going to get the most stress. So I know this. So where I start my stitch is down here. I start right there, then I bring it up, across, down, and over, knowing that the part that's going to get the most stress is also the part that's going to have the strongest stitch. I don't like to end my stitching in a stress area. Like up here, I started here and I brought the stitching around down here, because I know that this part is going to have the most stress on it. When I stitch this together, I'm going to start up here and then stitch down toward the bottom, because this end is going to have the most stress on it. Now, let's get to finishing this stitch up.
It's a hard thing to
Just going to take it and back stitch it.
from point A to
Just
B.
stick it back in the hole. And I push it against my bench.
Between being alive
And out it comes. Make sure this one's tight.
For those who can't imagine
Take this
life
one.
without two wheels, Allstate offers a genuine parts guarantee that promises to fix your bike with original parts.
Get my smooth jaw needle nose pliers.
Things they do.
The jaw is smooth because I don't want to chew up my needles. Don't always need them, but you know, after getting all that thread in those holes, coming back through,
Don't think about Wendy's spicy chicken. Don't do it. Problem is,
can be kind of tough.
thinking about that spicy goodness makes you
Okay,
think about it.
and this one goes back through the same hole, back stitching it again.
So what are you waiting for?
Funniest guy ever. He was infectious, and he was kind, and he's a puppy dog.
And same thing, grab hold of it with my smooth jaw needle nose pliers,
You know, whenever he's excited as a footage, you go,
pull that snug,
I am Chris Farley. A Spike documentary event premieres tomorrow at 9 on Spike.
and just continue
Our
on.
Nation is brought to you by Excel. Feel
Across.
the thrill with Excel fuel and ignition products. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Well, Jeremy's got our cowl hood all painted up. It turned out great. Can't wait to see it installed.
Oh, and pull straight.
Before we do that, we've got some work
Pull
to
it
do
at an
to make
angle,
the
you can
ribbon
twist
shop.
it and break a needle.
Install the roll pan and clean up the looks a little bit. Just like our hood, we picked
Not that they're expensive or anything,
we thought about making it a bolt-on, but the amount
But
of time
still.
it would take to fabricate a couple of brackets and get it bolted on, we thought we'd just go ahead and
You know, you don't wanna
smooth it up back here. And what allows
get
us to
sloppy
do
with
this
it.
is this trim piece, which gives us a good break for our paint.
and
If this
throw them away.
trim piece
Always
wasn't
do it the
here,
same way,
we'd
each
try to
hole.
blend into the bedside or possibly paint the entire bedside.
Get it
But
started,
before we can tack on this roll pan,
put it
we
against
can
my
knock out
bench,
the factory panel
and
to clear the license plate
push it on through.
Now, when cutting sheet metal, I like to use the 3-inch cutoff wheels that we get
Get these
at
snug.
Home Depot.
Now one more time for this guy.
All right, looks pretty good. Ready to prep this thing and tack it in. Now, the first step in getting this roll pan ready to weld on is to remove any existing paint and get down to clean metal.
And that's
When it
done.
comes to the E-coat on your new roll pan,
Take
there's
him.
reviews on whether to leave it or not. Personally, I
Put
like
him
to
through
remove
again.
the E-coat before getting the roll pan ready to weld on. With the roll pan
Put him
in
on
place,
through,
we're
pull
ready
it
to
tight.
tack it on.
And put him in once again from the outside.
Then it's a process of jumping around using spot welds so we keep the heat down and don't work the metal. And also working it with a body hammer to keep the roll pan flush with the bed corner.
Alright, and that's that. Take your
Now, to
scissors,
knock the welds down, I'm using a 40 grit flat wheel.
cut it off. Dying neuropathy. Now, I'm going to melt the ends,
The roll pan is fully filled
but when I do that, I want to tilt the holster away from me.
paint.
It's not really necessary for a black holster, but it's a good habit to get into, because when you're doing it other than black, like this blue one here,
Same as painting the hood. The only difference
you don't want to risk scorching the leather. So you tilt it away from
fully covered, the next step is to start blending a new
your heat source.
And this
Take
is
that,
accomplished by
melt
grading
them little
the
nubs,
face down. We want to make sure not to paint the entire bed corner, but we want to go
and mash it down.
3/4 of the way down. What this achieves is a
Make sure that's good and smooth and it's recessed in. And
after a few coats of base, we'll hit it with
that stitch is done.
Clear, and we're done.
the one thing about my scissors, you can tell that these are my leather stitching scissors, because they got wax from the thread all over them. If it gets too much wax on it, you know, you can just pick it off with your thumbnail, whatever.
On the underhood section, everything is plug and play except for a couple of easy connections to make
So that's it for stitching for now. Next, I'm going to go ahead dye that, and once that's dry, I'm going to go ahead and burnish that top edge, re-burnish this bottom edge. This is pretty good here. And then I'm going to put a finish on the inside here, and then after everything's dry, which will take a couple of days, I'm going to go ahead and use the contact cement and close that edge up. After I do that, take it out, sand it, bevel it, dye it, blah blah blah, stitch it, you know. Oh, I still got this piece to stitch up too. So I guess I'll go ahead and do that. And once that's done, it's ready to go. So that's where we're at on it, and let me get back to work. Got a little stitching, got the dyeing and stuff to do on there, and we'll get back to you. And just a word about dyeing this top edge. I don't want to use my big floppy dauber to dye this, because I could accidentally get some dye on those threads, and I don't want to get any dye on those stitches there. So what I'm going to use is a dauber that's been used for a while. It's got some finish on it, and it's like a hard little ball. That'll give me a lot more control over exactly where the dye goes. Actually, this edge here needs a little bit of help.
What do we get to watch?
There we go. So, get a little dye on my dauber, and dauber my dye.
Thursday.
Now you want to get enough dye on there to soak it, but you don't want to get it on those threads. You want to make sure those threads stay pretty.
Yeah, after all that work.
That's my wife with the commentary. We'll meet her in a minute. Now, I got that top edge dyed, and we're just going to let it sit and dry for a while, then get back to it and get that all burnished, all nice and pretty. Then after that dries, we'll put a final finish on the inside, and after that dries, we'll go ahead and glue it shut. That's the thing. You got to think, before you glue it together, is everything done? Because it's a real drag when you glue something together, then you realize, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to do something. And you got to tear it back apart. It can be done, but it's not a happy thing. Okay, I'm going to let that sit and dry for a while.